So I grew up in a loving Christian home and family, but by the time I hit 15, I was already in a deep struggle that I couldn't name. I never felt like I was enough. My confidence was in the gutter, and when I looked in the mirror, all I saw were flaws. Depression wasn't just a word to me, it was a heavy, suffocating blanket that I could not shake off no matter how I tried. And back in the 90s, talking about your period wasn't really what was discussed, not even in health class. And it was just around then that mental health was starting to become more of a conversation, something that you didn't always feel like you had to whisper about. Depression for me wasn't just feeling sad, it came with hating myself and fearing that everyone was rejecting me, getting mad at the smallest things, and even eating somehow became a sense of comfort and control, which ended up turning into an eating disorder. And I felt like I was always losing myself piece by piece. So in high school and college, it just continued on these ebbs and flows, feeling like I was on a roller coaster, drowning in despair, feeling like I was a completely different person, like a Jekyll and Hyde experience. And then all of a sudden, I'm back to my normal activities, sports, hanging out with friends, back in band and music and choir. I got married young and had two beautiful daughters. And then divorce came, and with it was a battle I still didn't have a name for. It was like being on an endless emotional roller coaster. And I remember asking myself during the times of being married and even after, am I being punished? Does God hate me? What did I do to deserve this? Is this my thorn in my side? Maybe I'm missing a chemical in my brain. Maybe I'm bipolar. Maybe this is what God's best was for me. Of course, having my annual visits to my doctors, my OBGYNs, at an endocrinologist. No one asked me about any symptoms or anything that was going on, really. It was just checking that box of, yes, I got my period, and yes, this was the date. And of course, I was keeping up with my doctor's visits annually, my GP, my OBGYN, my endocrinologist. There was always the same form. I think it's the same form that we all fill out. It's, did you get your period? Do you have a regular period? And when was the date? And you go back into the office and you're never talking about your symptoms. You're never talking about what you're really experiencing. You're just there for your annual appointment. No one's asking the right questions. In 2020, when we were all hit COVID-19, I lost my job. My daughter's school closed, including remote learning. Everything that I was feeling up to this point hit me 10 times worse. My feelings and emotions were at record lows, and I still was not correlating anything, but knowing that almost it was like clockwork. The depression, the anxiety, the rage would hit me like a tidal wave. And then after that would be shame and guilt and regret and crying spells. And it would hit me all over again, praying every night, take this away from me. There were times, even in my marriage, that I was on the floor in my kitchen, in front of the sink, on my hands and knees, pleading, take this away. During the time of trying to regulate what was emotionally coming up for me, I went to every doctor, OBGYN, and endocrinologist that I could be seen in New York City, a therapist, psychologist, again, not linking it to anything except explaining to them what I was feeling: depression, anxiety, rage, crying spells. And it was, here's this script. Here is Zoloft. Here is Wellbutrin. And because I was so desperate, and this was really the first time that I ever was on medication, I had to figure out something. I was in a relationship at the time, and I think I was about 2 years in my relationship, and I was in a place where I had to fix this. I had to figure out what was showing up in my life, why, and get control. And month after month, I was spinning out. And what ended up happening for me is that the side effects on top of my symptoms were just really, really too much for me. And I felt like I was experiencing a lot of chaos, even more this time, all the time, in the midst of still staying on the meds, trying to almost like play like self-management with them. I took gluten out of my diet. I began to exercise a lot. I took alcohol out, and that pain that came like from the inside out, like an eruption, like a volcano would come out. And it was just like a monster within every single month. And sometimes it would last for a few days, and sometimes it would last for several. I even read about some promising effects that ketamine therapy was having. So I tried that, and that really didn't bring much relief. So promising my family, promising my boyfriend that I'm going to stop this. I'm going to get control. I'm going to stop the angry outbursts, apologizing all the time, feeling so shamed, at times telling myself that my daughters deserved a better mother. They're better off without me. That next month, I lost it again. And my boyfriend left and he jumped on a plane, and I was left with devastating my kids again, breaking a promise again. But some act of divine grace, I sat in front of my computer and I Googled rage before period. It was the first time that I ever thought about it being connected to my period. And when I Googled those words, I saw for the first time 4 letters: PMDD, Premenstrual Dysphoric Disorder. And I just fell into a Google rabbit hole of research. I needed to know what it was, who it affected, what are the treatments, how can somebody get relief? Is there a cure? Is there healing? When does this happen? And so I went into all of these YouTube videos. I found support groups on Facebook, and I instantly had complete relief. I felt so validated that all of a sudden this is what I had. So revisiting some of the conversations with my doctors and my therapists, they didn't know what it was. They didn't hear of it before. So that's quite terrifying, because the professionals who you're going to for help really don't know what's going on and why. The wild thing is that I did have a hormonal test, and everything came back normal. So there I am reading that there's a hormonal imbalance, but yet my tests were showing completely normal. And what I have come to find out is that so many experience the same thing. So as I'm joining support group after support group, like I said, feeling in the moment, so validated, explaining to my daughters what it was, trying to get a hold of my boyfriend who wasn't speaking to me. And all of a sudden, all the relief and all the validation that I had felt, I felt terrorized fear, because every single thing that every person said that they tried outside of getting a hysterectomy was something that I had already tried. And a lot of hopelessness began to really flood me. And here I went back into this spiral of despair. But I didn't stop. I did not stop, because I knew that there had to be something. And I continued my research, and I found a therapy that said that it was treating the root cause and finding the root cause of PMDD. Well, the only thing I didn't try was this therapy. So I found someone who was practicing it. Everything was done online, and it was called Rapid Transformational Therapy, known as RTT. And it combines hypnotherapy, neuroscience, neuroplasticity, and cognitive behavioral therapy. And that hybrid blend was said to have unparalleled results in 2 to 3 sessions. And so when I was reading about it, I started making sense to subconscious patterns. I knew that the things that were coming up in my life were from old feelings, old memories and moments that I was definitely carrying. I look back at my high school years of how it was so ingrained and imprinted on me to have such a negative view of myself and the lowest self-esteem and horrible body image. It's like what happened, right? Where did I pick up those deep, dark messages? And so RTT made complete sense to me. RTT made so much sense to me that it could find the root cause of my depression, that it could find the root cause of my anger. So after 2 sessions, not only did I have the most incredible menstrual cycle in that 4 weeks and had the most ease and relief in my luteal phase, I felt like I was breaking myself out of prison. I felt like all of a sudden I was getting aha moments and deep understanding and clarity to myself, my story, everything that led me up to this point in my life. And what was the most incredible thing is because I did lose my job, I was at this unique opportunity at this small window of time that I knew that it was like a screaming calling that I needed to get certified. I needed to get trained. I needed to do this for the rest of my life, because if I could bring healing to other people and help them make sense of their pain and their story, then I know that this is the why behind my pain and my story. And so as I started in the training, experiencing even deeper levels of RTT, symptoms were just beginning to fall off. Things I can't even describe began to illuminate more in my life, including biting my nails. I probably ever since the age of 10 was always had my fingers in my mouth. My mother was always pulling my hand out of my mouth, my fingers away from my teeth. It was something so habitual, and without even necessarily working on my nails, because my self-esteem and self love and self confidence was being restored, I was coming back to my true self. And so, my mission now is to share the hope and to share healing and to share that not only about PMDD and about the awareness of, but to provide a true solution based therapy that is breaking the mold of any other therapy out there. And I understand that I might be really biased, but it has saved my life and it has saved countless clients of mine, that their PMDD stories, that they have broken themselves out of their prison and now they're free. And I stand here and sit here in confidence, knowing that I would never have been able to do this. Being in front of a camera, being in front of another person speaking is the testament of what the power of this work can do, and the result driven evidence that is there once you break out of the vicious cycle of your subconscious mind, that you stop the old programming, you see it for what it is from your adult eyes now. You bring in incredible inner child healing, and little by little, by reprogramming your mind, by listening to an audio recording that you commit to listening to every day, which that's that piece of neuroplasticity, you are now making that your new familiar. Those new embedded neural pathways begin to form as you are releasing and letting go of the old programming, the old frequency. You're turning on the new frequency. You're turning off the old song, the old narrative, and embracing this powerful truth about you and who you've come here to be. And when we step into these powerful moments, we're awakening to our true authentic self. We're awakening to the person that we've always been designed to be. Our ultimate design was never one that was limited, constrained, small, afraid, alone, unloved, unsafe. But these are things that we have felt, and we have picked them up over the timelines of our stories, and we made them the truth about ourselves. And when we have now these amazing opportunities with hypnotherapy and understanding the subconscious mind and this work, we begin to unravel what has been really holding us back. You see, so when we're 0 to 10 years old, 95% of our subconscious mind is being formed. And now we run our operating system off of that 95%. So everything we basically feel and live through is a continual pattern of our lives. It's really just the same. We don't really think new thoughts much if we're still operating in the realm of that old programming. But once you see it that way and understand the science behind our mind, the way that we were really designed to understand this big, massive, infinite possibilities of who we are, the attainable truth of deeply knowing that anything is possible if we overcome limited beliefs and limited feelings. And now everything has changed. Everything has changed in my clients' lives, because the moment that you change that perspective, the moment that you change that story around and you make it from an empowered place, you can let it go with freedom and with empowerment, and you stand and embrace a person that you always have known was inside, but you just didn't know how to let her shine. And so this is the work of RTT, of understanding more about me and my story of overcoming PMDD and how you can cure it naturally. And it's a journey. It takes time. The results are rapid in the sense of it will transform what felt like 20 years of therapy in a 2-hour session. I know it sounds wild, but that's really what happens. And when you're in this journey of understanding yourself and self discovery and healing and moving through these places, nothing is off limits. There is no glass ceiling then in this world, that everything that you want wants you. And that's the power of the law of attraction, right? And of manifestation and stepping into this whole new becoming of the most bettered version and that higher version of you, because all of a sudden we've tuned into the light, that new song, and the nature of God and source and spirit is always calling us to go higher and to ascend. And so if we can just move through those places of resistance, learning how to let them go, shifting that narrative, making the new belief, this is when everything changes, because your beliefs make you. And if you're running on the programming that you're not loved, that you're not enough, that you're not safe, that you are alone, that will be what you see in this life. This will be what you know to be your truth. So you have to change that. And when you do, everything changes.